The information provided on this podcast is for general informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast. Reliance on any information provided here is solely at your own risk. Welcome to the Birth Baby Podcast. Each week, you'll find guidance, encouragement, and practical tools to support you through pregnancy, birth, and the postpartum journey. I'm your host, Sierra Morgan, a certified birth and postpartum doula, hypnobirthing educator, and pediatric sleep consultant. I'm also the owner of a doula agency in Austin, Texas, and the founder of the Birth Baby Academy, where I offer classes for both parents and birth professionals. Thanks for being here. All right, everyone. I told you that I would be back with Evelyn Houder because we have more to tell you. And now it's the redemption story part, which is the best. So thanks for coming back with me, Evelyn.
You got it. Deep end. We're
deep end.
Deep end.
Hi, she's Evelyn and she's in the deep end. So, okay, to sum it up for the people who maybe didn't listen recently and have a brain like a goldfish like I do, you had your first birth, long induction, ended in a C-section, and you were like, I am never doing anything like that again. More me, less everybody else. So what was the spacing between the end, when your baby was born and when you were pregnant with your second? How long was that?
It was, let's see, our daughter was 2.5 when he was born. So she wasn't quite 2 when we got pregnant. So she was nearing towards the 2-year mark, not quite there, maybe like 1.5 years. And at this point we have left San Francisco. We've moved back to LA. We're living in LA and I'm getting to a point where I'm like, I think we're ready for number 2.
Okay. Do we have to do IVF this time?
Well, we've called the IVF clinic. We've set our appointment. We're like, okay. And one day we're laying in bed and I say to my husband, I was like, I can't explain this. You're probably going to think I'm crazy, but I just feel like we can do this on our own. I feel like we can do this. Yeah. I said that to him. And he's like, no, I don't think you're crazy at all. I was like, I don't think we should cancel our appointment. Like, let's, because it doesn't happen. IVF is like a long drawn out process. So it doesn't happen overnight. You do the appointment and to do our appointment, all of our embryos are in San Francisco. So we had to plan a trip to San Francisco and schedule an appointment and all of these things with our doctor. I'd like to add, I think this is a little magical snippet. Our IVF doctor had told us that we would only have girls. He said, based on, we had all of our embryos were girls. And he said, statistically, if you have all of these girls, even if you were to get pregnant naturally, which you can't, you're only going to have girls, is what we were told. So I had mentally prepared myself to be a girl mom, and Ryan had mentally prepared himself to be a girl dad. And that's what we thought we were going to be. And our 2 healthy, the embryos that had survived the whole process that were left, we had 2 left. Avery was 1 and then 2 more were girls, so we're going to be a girl family. We're laying in bed. I tell him, I think we can do this on our own. We have the meeting planned, the trip planned to San Francisco. Everything's great. And I'm pushing Avery in the stroller and I'm talking to my best friend and I'm like, I cannot explain this. There was this organic Mexican restaurant in the mall that was walking distance from our house and it was called Tocaya. And at this point in life, I could not get enough Tocaya. I'd be leaving from getting a burrito and I'd be planning how we could get the next burrito. And I said this.
Also, I just have to say, I now know Evelyn on a personal level, and we sat next to each other at a wedding, and we like to eat. So this is not surprising to me, Evelyn, that you were already planning your next meal while eating this meal. We are one and the same. And I love that about you.
And it was just I was like, okay, it's organic. So it's kind of fast food, but it's not, and I'm making excuses for that too. And I'm talking to my best friend and I'm like, I just can't get enough of their burritos right now. And she says to me, she's also the same person who predicted Ryan proposing to me, which is kind of funny. She says to me, you're not pregnant, are you? And I was like, I laugh. I'm like, no. And I open up my app that tracks my period, and I'm like, oh, well, I guess I I'm thinking in my head I could be. I don't want to jinx it. I don't say anything to her. I'm like, no way am I pregnant, but maybe I should take a test, and I'm like, so I took a test and I was pregnant. So that instinctual feeling, like, I think we can do this. It felt like I just settled into, instead of that tense living in friction, living in lack, as woo woo as that might sound, I think there's something to it on some level.
Yeah.
And I was just like in this place of, this is meant to happen. And I could feel it. And I was pregnant.
But Evelyn, they said you can't. So
they said I can't. Sorry. Yeah. So I don't know.
Well, don't believe me, just watch.
That sounds like a pop song or something.
It is. Don't believe me, just watch. That's a song.
Bruno Mars, right? No, Bruno Mars.
I don't know. Don't make me figure that out. Just like mathing. I didn't make you math last episode, so don't do that to me.
Fair. So we're in this like actually truly tumultuous time in our lives. My husband had just had a medical diagnosis that was really life-changing for us, and he's good, he's fine. But at the time, we were wondering if he would even be around. Like, we didn't know what was going to happen next. So I'm keeping this close to my heart. We have plans. We're traveling to a clinic, and actually at this point, this is all happening around the same time. We had to go to San Francisco. So because we already had that appointment scheduled, we called the clinic, the IVF clinic, and we said, hey, we don't need the appointment anymore. Guess what? We're pregnant. And there was I really enjoyed that call, because it felt like you're told you can't do things. And I just wish there was a little more. I know it's a business. At the end of the day, it's a business. But there's all of these factual things that we're told when you're a patient that just truly aren't fact. And there's so much more that goes into it. And I just wish there was a little more appreciation I appreciate the medical field. I appreciate that they're there for us when we need them. But I wish there was a little more appreciation for, none of us are God. None of us know what's coming next, and anything is possible, on the flip side of things.
Yeah.
So we have this beautiful trip.
Did they tell you to keep the appointment?
No. We they can't tell you.
I feel like I thought you were going to be like, and they told us to come in because they wanted to give me a bunch of testing and make sure that it was viable. And you're like, oh my God. No, okay, good. I'm glad that's not what they did.
They did not do that. Thank goodness. No, not at all. So, we do that trip. I think I got my timing off because as I'm thinking about it, I'm like, there's no way we did that trip and canceled it before, because we had to do a trip to Arizona for my husband first.
Oh, okay.
And I'm keeping this close to my heart. And I'm like,
but does he know? You told him.
He does not know. No, I couldn't put the weight of this on him with the weight of what he was carrying at the time. So I had to travel through an airport, and I refused to go through
like my wife's just crazy.
And yeah. And then there was all these funny things. Like I had to order a margarita. We had somebody come with us to help with Avery so that I could be there with him in his medical appointments. And we had gone to dinner, and I ordered a margarita, and then I had to quickly switch it. And I had to tell even the waitress, I had to get the waitress in on it. I was like, I'm pregnant. I don't want to tell my husband yet. So can you I'm ordering a margarita. We'll pay for it. Just give me a lemonade.
You are diabolical. I don't have this in me. I don't have an ounce of it. Not even a little. I know that it would be harder on my husband. I know that's protective, Evelyn, and I still don't think I could do it.
I did it.
And I was amazed. I'm impressed.
We get through all of that. We get through all of this craziness, and then we're like, okay, everything's going to be okay. For the most part, life will be a little altered, but essentially we're going to be okay. I hadn't told him yet, but I had told Avery. She's not even 2 yet. She can't talk.
She can't tell your secret.
My best friend was pregnant at the time. So this helps with it. So I tell Avery, I'm like, Mommy's got a baby in her belly. And she started saying it. Like she could bear it, but she started saying, Mommy, baby, belly, something to that effect.
And you're like, no, my best friend's pregnant.
I'm like, you're confused. That's Tia Bianca. You're confused. He never caught on. Caught on. You'd think he would have been like...
How long did you wait? How long did you know before he knew? Weeks?
For sure.
Wow.
For sure.
Wow. What a secret to keep.
And even when I told him, he didn't get it. It's so funny how like I got this cute little blue box with a little baseball rattle and like blue stuff in it to like,
because you knew it was a boy already?
yes,
You
because
didn't tell us that.
blood work, they can tell you it's a boy.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So you just found out that by yourself too. Oh my gosh. But you weren't allowed. No, you only could have girls, Evelyn. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Only girls. You're just going to be a girl family, and you can't have a baby.
Can't get pregnant. Yeah.
Probably not a baby in your belly, something else.
Well, now you got a baby and it's a boy. Holy cannoli.
Yeah. Yeah. So timing wise, this is, he was born at the end of May of 2020. So, this is, we're entering into that time frame. We haven't
hit the 2020
time. Yeah. We haven't hit it yet, but I share, let my husband in on the grand news. And we start planning, and I immediately told him, I said, hey, we're going to do things differently this time. We live in a different space where we have more privacy now. We've been through that. You saw how terrible that was. We're going to do things differently this time. So we start doing research. Fortunately, I had a really close friend from childhood who'd already had a birth in a birthing center and 2 births in birthing centers, and she was a doula. So she had a lot of the birth knowledge, and she had turned me on to this doctor, Dr. Stu. And so I knew of him, and it turns out...
That, though.
What?
You can't just say Dr. Stu. Y'all, if you are listening, go look up Dr. Stu. That's probably all Fishbein. You even have. Yeah, but you probably don't even have to write his last name if you Google it, because they're just going to know who that is. He even has a podcast called Birthing Instincts now.
Yes.
Holy cannoli, you looked up Dr. Stu.
His office was right across the street from across the street. And like there's a major highway in LA that we're on one side of it, and he's right on the other side of the highway at the time.
The Dr. Stu.
And what he's mostly known, he's an OB, but he's a home birth OB. Mm-hmm. And so he is known for, he'll help people who want to do a home birth who have a high risk pregnancy, VBAC, twin births are a big thing of his. Yep. Breech. Exactly. So this helped Ryan feel a lot more comforted, knowing that we had a medical doctor, somebody in the space, somebody caring for me, somebody to assure us that things are okay. So we established care with Dr. Stu. I just felt fortunate that we were even able to get in with him. And
this is like Kevin Bacon. I'm feeling like, 7 degrees of separation. I'm like 1 degree of separation from Dr. Stu now.
And he's amazing because he has these great stories, and he understands women very well, considering he's not a woman, but he
believes in birth.
Mm-hmm, he does. So I'm got my care with him. And if you're going to have a home birth with him, he will have a midwife. One of the midwives that he works with will be attending your birth. And sometimes so he had 2 offices at the time. So I had been to both offices. I'd met some of the other midwives, and they were all lovely. And I started noticing that this small shift, that I just felt a little more at ease around the women. And I liked him. I thought he was great. I thought he was knowledgeable. I thought he was capable. I had no problems with him at all. But I just felt this like a little bit of me like relax a little bit more when I was just with the women. And that's just a me thing. Maybe everybody's not like that, but that was something I was noticing in my body and for me. And I started thinking about it more and more. And I kind of hit this place where I was like, I went to him and I just said, I don't think I want to continue care with you, but I want you to know it's nothing personal. Mm-hmm. And he was so incredibly supportive. And he was like, I support that. I think it's great. I understand. And what I ended up going with was a midwife who had trained under him. And I didn't have to. It's just, this is who I landed with and who I felt comfortable with. She had trained under him and then established her own practice. And she wasn't as well known then as she is now. But now, at least in the LA area or in the birth space, like Abby Vidigan is her name. And she cares for a lot of celebrities. She's cared, and not just celebrities. Like, and she would say that herself. She doesn't like that a lot of people know that she's helped with, because
Yeah.
she wants anyone to come to her. And she's just this like beautiful soul of a midwife, and the perfect balance for me, because super knowledgeable, super respectful of my choices, will tell you the pros, cons in and out, and then respect whatever choice you want to make. As long as it's not something, you know, I'm sure there could be, she has some boundary.
I'm sure
there,
there's some line that she can't, you know,
of course,
be a present for certain things, of course.
Yes.
But informed consent and shared decision making are very important to her.
Exactly. It was like having your best friend be the person that's caring for you through your pregnancy, the end of your pregnancy. And it was beautiful. It was this beautiful experience, right? And I felt so supported, and, you know, and I had an amazing doula that I got my doula from my best friend who was also pregnant. We shared a doula. I mean, we didn't share a doula, but she,
right.
you know, so it was, you know, I'm leading up to my pregnancy and planning this home birth, and I'm kind of the weirdo, right? I'm the weirdo planning a home birth. And then 2020, the real 2020 hits, you know, all of the chaos of 2020.
The 2020 hit the fan.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, it happened. I don't know if it happened. I think it happened all throughout the country, but it definitely happened in LA. Suddenly everybody wanted a home birth.
Mm-hmm.
And
some people were trying to navigate lots of things. I mean, there were home birth midwives that were just taking on way more than they ever would. And everyone was backing each other up. Like the out of hospital birth community just came alive.
Yeah. Yeah. Which was a beautiful thing, because I think a lot of people became more aware of how beautiful this space is. You know, I think it did a incredible service to not just like, for me, it felt like it did me a service personally, because then I didn't feel like such a weirdo. And I also felt like,
an outlier.
Yeah, I was ahead of the curve. I've already got mine booked. Yeah. I'm set.
Yeah.
You know, and so that trend started. And I'm still dealing with a husband that's kind of like, oh, you know, I don't even know if I want to tell my family we're doing this. Like, he is uncomfortable with this whole ordeal. He's like, I don't know what we're doing. Are we sure? And I just kind of continued with this. I'm sure this is what we're going to do. And with this baby, with Ethan, I'm also getting closer and closer to my due date. And, you know, even in a home birth, if you get to a certain point,
eventually you time out.
Yeah, exactly. And we're getting closer and closer. And I'm just like, I'm doing the curb walking. I'm doing the long walks with Avery. You know, I'm doing all the things. I'm 2.5 years older than I was for the previous birth. And I'm a little slower than I was in the first birth, but I still feel good. You know, I'm still a healthy pregnant mama doing my thing. And, but I think the thing to take into consideration is that I have never had a birth. I've never gone into labor just on my own.
Yourself. Yeah. It's a different experience.
And you don't know what, so it kind of feels like being a first time mom again, in a way, because you don't know what to expect. You don't know what to feel. You don't know what to, and I just had this conversation with one of my friends, because she went into it. She wanted to see every birth video. She wanted to see all the things. And I was still, I guess you could say I was still a little grossed out by some aspects of birth. I didn't want to watch a baby's head come out of somebody. That was like, oh, okay, that's enough. I knew I wanted to do it. I didn't necessarily want to see it. So I include that to say there's some things that I'm a little naive about still at this point in the process, even though I've gone through this whole initial experience with my first. I'm still going into this, and I'd watched her birth video, but it wasn't super graphic. You know, it was just kind of like the process. Mm-hmm. I was very well informed in a lot of other areas. Like, do you know who Britta Bushnell is?
Yeah.
So I had done a course with her. Like, it's like a birth prep course with Britta that was like really, really helpful and positive for getting me into like the right mental space. But I didn't this time around do a proper birthing class. I just felt like I don't want to do that. But I did her course because that felt more like the psychological aspect of things was really what I needed to conquer. Yeah. And it was a very positive experience. Like, I highly recommend her course for moms who are heavily, like, I'm such a perfectionist and I'm so like, I want to do things right that sometimes it's a disservice to me in other areas. So we're in a trend at this point in our lives where I would take Avery for a walk every afternoon. We'd go for this little walk. And that was part of me getting the exercise and trying to bring this baby along. And after the walk, we'd go get in the bath and we'd take a little mommy daughter bath. And then we'd get out and we'd make our lunch. And pretty quickly after that, she would take a nap. Well, 2020 is here at this point, so we're basically on lockdown. And we had gone for our walk. And we come back, we did our bath, we change into clean clothes, and I'm in the kitchen making lunch for Avery and myself and Ryan because he's at home because of the lockdown.
Yeah.
And I look down and I see this glob. I thought it was a piece of the raw chicken. I was like, what is that? What is that glob on my foot?
I know what it
on
is.
the top of my foot, And I'm like, that's really gross. And I pick it up and I'm like, that's not chicken.
And you don't like birthy things at this point.
Right. And I show my husband because I love to gross him out because I'm not easily grossed out. I'm not easily grossed out. I'm kind of sophomoric in that sense. I show my husband, he's horrified. And I just can't get over the fact that I got out of a bath and I put clothes on. It had to, how did it get past?
It just hung out there the whole time.
Totally. It is so gross and so whatever wild, but it's such a birth
mucus
thing.
Plug, guys. Yeah. That, for you listening, if you're like, what are they talking about? Raw chicken? No, that was her mucus plug, or at least part of it that was on her foot hanging out.
What I left out is that I was having a couple days of, I can never pronounce this word properly, but prodromal labor. Prodromal labor. So I had these little, am I going into labor? And maybe not going to labor, maybe not. And I had been educated onto what that was because of these experiences for a few days. So then this happens and we're like, okay, this is probably happening, but there's no definite. It might not happen today also. So we just continue going about our day. I let my doula know. I let my midwife know. We get to bed that night and I start feeling the same thing that I had experienced the previous 2 nights. But I'm like, this probably isn't it. So I'm tracking my contractions. Also the first time I've ever really done that, tracking the contractions. And I'm a perfectionist. So I want to really make sure is this really the start of it? And is this really the end of it? And sometimes that alters the accuracy of it, if that makes sense. Our bedroom is upstairs. Our living room's downstairs. I decide to go downstairs and turn on a comedy special. I'm like, I'll watch a comedy special. I'll bounce on this ball and I'll just get through these waves of pre-contractions, it's probably nothing. Mm-hmm. I'm texting our doula. I'm telling her what's going on. She's like, I'm communicating with her. And she's like, yeah, you're fine. Nothing is probably happening. We had plans to birth in a birthing tub. So we had a birthing tub and it was upstairs but it wasn't blown up yet or anything. It's, I'm not in labor yet. Mm-hmm. I realized all of a sudden, I tried to eat a cracker and it was, have you ever tried to eat something when you can't eat? You think you're hungry and you chew it and you're like,
I got to spit that out. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I tried to eat. I couldn't eat. I was trying to watch the comedy special. I love comedy and I couldn't really focus in to pay attention to it, and hours are passing and I've been communicating what's going on and nobody seems to think I'm in labor, but this is starting to feel pretty intense. But I've never been through this before and it's nowhere near what I experienced in the hospital. So I can't possibly be in labor because hospital
Pitocin contractions feel much different.
Right. Yes. Right. So I'm like, even before the Pitocin contractions, the
Foley balloon. Yeah.
That's horrible. I mean, that's straight up torture. So anyways, this doesn't feel like that. Can't possibly be in labor. And then I hit this point where I'm like, I think I need to go upstairs and get Ryan. I don't think I want to be downstairs by myself anymore. So I get up our stairs and I get into our bedroom and I not fall down, but I go down onto all fours. And I'm like, Ryan, you need to wake up. You need to wake up. And I still am not thinking I'm in labor because I was told you're not in labor. Mind you, nobody had spoken to me. And so I was communicating very clearly in texting. And generally, if a woman is doing that, they're,
yeah, if you're cerebral enough to do that, we're probably fine. Right.
Right. But I hadn't spoken to anybody. And no, maybe, and even if I had spoken, you got to keep in mind my history.
You're also very type A.
I had been a dancer. I had been an athlete. I had been an actor. I had been a pageant girl. So I know how to turn it on and be proper. Yeah. Even if I'm in pain or even if I'm, and I think I was doing that subconsciously. I was trying to talk and not put my pain on to the person listening, so, Anyways, I said to Ryan, I'm like, you need to call Catherine. Catherine was our doula. I'm like, call Catherine, call her now. I think I got in the bath, or I wasn't quite in the bath, but she just heard me. She's talking to Ryan and she heard me in the background and she said, is that Evelyn? And he was like, yeah. She didn't need to know anything else.
No, she just needed to come.
He was like, I'm on my way. Right. So he's got me in the bath. He's in his underwear only. And he is a very private, shy person. He's not comfortable with anybody seeing him in his underwear besides. So
my husband would die.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah. He's like, I need to get dressed. And I was like, you don't leave me. I mean, I was in the labor.
You were primal. Yeah.
I was ready to go. So Catherine gets there, and we had also hired a birth photographer because so much of Avery's I felt like I missed. And I was like, oh, this would be really beautiful. She got there for the crowning. She got there for nobody made it. Our midwife made it just in time. Just in time. Thankfully, we all lived in a general similar area of
LA. Did your doula make it?
Our doula made it, but just in the nick of time.
Just barely. Yeah.
So the timing, I know the timing of this one. Noon, midnight, I got upstairs, and he was born his birth time was 2:38. So,
oh my gosh.
It was midnight when I was downstairs and said, I need to go upstairs. And I came upstairs, and then we called, and then we got Catherine on the phone, and then they got and so it all happened pretty quickly. The birth tub never even made it out. I birthed Ethan in our bathtub.
Nice.
He came super fast, but it was this incredibly beautiful. The song Wrecking Ball always reminds me of Ethan because he came in like a wrecking ball.
That's right.
But it was just such a super primal. I thought, based on my friend's birth, that I would sound more like a delicate princess, like a flower. And I sounded more like a cave woman, which really bothered me at the time. I was just like, oh, that's it didn't feel delicate and pretty. It felt,
I always say I sounded like a dying cow.
Yeah. No,
or
I
like
sounded
a whale.
I sounded like a cave. Like I feel like it. Yeah. Deep and guttural and primal. And my doula said to me, she said, because it was really hard for me to watch our birth video. I felt so ugly or something, even though I knew the birth was beautiful. I just was like, oh, but I'm not pretty and delicate, And she said, I promise you, every time you watch this over the years, you'll feel differently about it. And every time you watch it, you'll embrace it more than the last time. And she was so correct. That's exactly what happened. Every time it was sort of like, I embraced it a little bit more. But what was so beautiful it was just a very beautiful experience, and it felt very much like me proving to myself, not to other people, a little bit to other people, but mostly to myself, that I can trust myself. I know what's right for me. I know what's right for my body. I know when, even in that space with people who were amazing at their job and I loved, and they loved me, and we had this great relationship. Even in that sense, I was letting them tell me when it was going to happen. And I should have really anchored in a little bit more and gone, no, this. So, we had Ethan. It was beautiful. My husband now is the biggest proponent for home birth. He'll tell any of his friends, he'll be like, I'll tell you what, it's the most relaxing. You have the baby and you snuggle up, you're in your own bed. Nobody pokes and prods you. You go to sleep that night, you wake up, you've got this new family member. It's beautiful and amazing. And he's the first one to advocate for it now that he's been through it twice, and in our next, we had Ethan, and then we got pregnant again very quickly. And he was like, we call him our happy surprise. Yes, we moved. So 2020 happened. We moved with a 7-week-old. We left LA. We said, enough. The night Ethan was born was the night of the riots broke out in Beverly Hills in that area. And we didn't have anything to protect ourselves. Ryan went on Amazon and ordered a bat. And we lived right where. So for the first couple of weeks of Ethan's life, Ryan slept on the couch downstairs while Avery slept in her bedroom and I slept in my bedroom upstairs, with the thought of, because somebody could come in through our patio. If people really were mob mentality, we would have been a prime place to come to, and we didn't live in a gated community. We didn't have any protectors around us.
Right.
So, I mean, it was a little, I think you're extra on edge when you have a newborn and you're newly postpartum, but even him as a father, he felt like I need to protect my family and I don't really have a great way to do it, you know?
So y'all dipped out and moved to Texas.
Left. We came to Texas. Yay, freedom.
Okay. And you got pregnant again. How long after that?
Very quickly. There's an 18-month age gap between the boys. So Ethan was 9 months old. Ethan was
another
9 months
boy.
Old.
You're not.
I know.
You're not supposed to be able to make those.
I don't make boys.
Well, you did.
And then I did. Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, we call him our happy little surprise. We didn't expect, I was thrilled because I definitely wanted another baby. And we were like, okay, we've done the home birth again. Ryan's now experienced it. He gets it. We're in a new area. So that was a little scary. Like we don't have the same knowledge of the people around, but we just start kind of doing our research. And that leads me to you because I found you looking, I went doula first before I did my midwife, and I found you, and I was booked with one of the doulas in your practice who I got along with great, loved her. She was wonderful. I was
already booked. And so, yeah.
And then I had her, I found a midwife, and all of the COVID stuff was happening. And I was the reverse of what everybody else wanted, but I didn't want a doula. I didn't want somebody in my birth space who had freshly had the COVID shot. And that might be like, well, that doesn't make sense or this or that. But that was just like how I felt at the time.
I had exact opposite situations happening at the same time.
Yeah.
So I had people who all of a sudden go, oh my God, well, there's a shot and now people are getting it. And I do not want a doula that just had a shot. And then I got other people who are like, I do not want a doula who's not vaccinated. Mm-hmm. And so here I was as the owner of this agency going, oh shoot, what do we do? We need to make everyone happy. Like, no, they couldn't have known this before they hired a doula because this situation didn't exist before they hired. So
it's not a conversation you could have.
No, it's not like they failed to ask and then sorry about your luck. It was okay, well, we've got to figure out how to navigate this. So Evelyn comes to Sierra.
Well, coming into that conversation too, I was like, she is going to think I am bonkers. She is going to think I am certifiable. And I just resolved myself to, okay, she's going to think I'm crazy, but this is what I feel like I need to do. Yeah. And you didn't, but I didn't know that.
I respected everybody's choices, you know, I, just as much as I didn't think that the people who are saying I have to have a vaccinated doula were crazy. We all just can do what we can do with what we have and how we feel. And we have to go with our intuition.
Yeah. Yeah. But it all worked out because, you know, as much as I loved the first doula, I just knew that this was I also appreciated how honest she was with me and how she was like, I got to be honest with you. I did. And this is why. And I don't think she really wanted to. I think she did it so she could continue working. I believe that because a lot of us did because of the hospitals. We were told that we might not be able to get into the hospitals if we didn't have a card showing that we were vaccinated. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And actually my midwife, so I switched and then I ended up with Peggy, who is also now one of my best friends. And
by the way, that's not even somebody that was in my company. It was another agency owner. And I was like, hey, can we transfer the money to you from what she paid us? And can y'all help her? You know, because we just needed to find you somebody that could fit the parameters that you needed.
That aspect of birth workers is such a core that this should be, I just think it's such a beautiful thing. We're all in it together. Like you weren't like, oh, well, this is my business. So I'm going to keep this money and like, yeah, well, screw you, like go do your thing. You know, there was none of that feeling. It was like, how do we all help each other and how do we work together? And everything's going to turn out right in the end. And that was the same way I felt with Stu. Was like, you know, I mean, it was different with him because I'd already taken some care. So I paid, you know, he was paid for that, but he didn't require me to pay him for anything further, you know, and it was just such a gracious way of operating that I feel like women that are pregnant and that are getting ready to have babies, it means a lot more, you know, it's so important. But Peggy ended up being so wonderful and so perfect for our family. And my husband and her husband are now best friends. And, you know, Like it was just
we got to sit next to each other at their kid's wedding.
Exactly. Like what a beautiful turn of events with all of this happening. And the one thing I would say, we had Owen and it was a whole different time. I had another home birth with a healthy baby and no massive complications. But what I did discover is that I experienced that it's not just the hospital setting where women can feel violated. It doesn't only happen in the hospital setting where women can be gaslit. It doesn't only happen. And just because I've used her name, none of this came from Peggy, but I experienced that from a midwife, from two midwives during my third pregnancy. And it's shocking, again, because you've developed this relationship and it feels almost like a family member or, it feels extra painful. And I said this to her face. I told her, I said, I think the thing that's exceptionally hurtful about it is I would expect this in the hospital setting. So I would have already set up kind of protectors for myself. I had not set up protectors for myself or any kind of emotional blocks, not blocks, but, preventative
boundaries.
Measures.
Yeah.
Yes. Like I was so vulnerable and just openly trusted that something like this wouldn't happen. And then I was massively violated in that instance in our third birth. I'm like vaginal checks while I'm yelling to stop them, and disrespect. Like there's like disrespect stuff and there's just going completely against what you're asking for. And the point of that isn't to like bash any one person, but it's to say that I think it's really exceptionally important for all of us to really make sure we know the person entirely, like make sure we know where they stand on how much they're going to be involved in the birth, in the labor. And when they don't agree with something, how they're going to tackle that. I worried so much about us just like getting along and we were able to chat, and all of my appointments prior to that, we would be really chatty and we'd talk about social issues and we agreed on a lot of political and social things, but that doesn't really matter at the end of the day if your care isn't up to par. And if you're going to end up feeling violated, it doesn't matter if you agree on a health topic or a political topic or a social thing. None of it matters.
You are so brave and just courageous for speaking up and saying that to her. And I would imagine being a midwife and hearing, I would have expected this in a hospital, but not from you. That would be the biggest gut punch I could probably ever receive in my whole life, but it was deserved. And no one should be giving vaginal checks while somebody is asking them to stop. No. The moment someone says no, whatever is happening needs to stop, even if it's not safe. Even like I always tell people, parents, your autonomy, your physical autonomy goes so far as even if your baby is not doing well, you can still say no to a C-section. Not that you should, but that's how much we have. But we just don't realize that we have so much control because things are done anyway. And it is disgusting that someone could ever be made to feel that way. But when you're right, when you have that added layer of I fully trusted you because of the position that you held, and you violated that trust.
And the response to it wasn't, it was I'm really sorry, but you clearly have previous trauma I was massively gaslit.
Wow.
In that it wasn't a real apology. It was like, sorry, but this isn't really about me. I can tell that you have trauma that you haven't dealt with. And that's really what this is about. And, I was super fresh postpartum. I basically passively ended care. I just kind of was like, I feel good. I don't think I need any more appointments. I, just let it be at that. I didn't take any further measures.
I think I would have. You showed more restraint, I think, than I would have.
Well, I've debated whether that was the right decision too, because I feel very strongly that I don't want another mom to encounter this. But what I will tell you, what's harder to get over even than feeling violated myself is the treatment of my son, because she knew very clearly how I wanted. Part of the reason you do a home birth is because you also want your baby to come into this world in a gentle manner. You don't want your baby to come into this world and be slapped. Nobody slapped him on the butt, but I'm using that like stereotypical, like held upside down and slapped on the butt. You don't want that. You want a gentle, soft welcoming into this world. And when I say he came out and there was like harsh rubbing and cleaning him off when I didn't want him cleaned off, and like immediately insisting on weighing. There was no complications I need to add, because I would give a little bit of an understanding if there was like something was going wrong with him.
He's having trouble breathing or
No, he wasn't having any issues. And there was like the harsh rubbing, and then the insisting on weighing him and all of these things. It kept putting a hat on his head. And I kept saying, I don't want a hat on his head. And that's a whole nother path you can go down on why I didn't want the hat on his head. But he was on my body.
I tell people that all the time. I'm like, how are you going to smell your baby if there's a hat on their head?
Exactly. And if you can't smell him, you're not going to produce milk, and he was on my body. I'm keeping him warm. And she kept putting a hat on his head. Peggy and I have a running joke about Clorox spray. Because
they had Clorox flare out.
I have a very non-toxic home.
Oh, I know. That's why I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe it even came into your house.
She knew this about me, and she supposedly was in agreement with all this stuff, and she kept pulling out these Clorox wipes, and Peggy kept hiding them, and she kept finding them. So Peggy and I just it's like a running joke with us, but just this blatant disrespect for our space. And
you had already said no one time. Not that's it. Okay, no one time she doesn't want to have.
My pushing was, and it wasn't because it was because I was literally shushing them because they were talking so much during I needed silence, and I was going,
oh no. I'm sorry to laugh, but that's funny and frustrating.
It's funny and horrible, but all you can do now is laugh. Like, I have a beautiful little boy. He's healthy. He's hysterical. He's, and I do take into account all of those things. I think it's important to mention his story because I thought, because there's no right or wrong. Mm-hmm. And I think so often we are put in these positions where it's like, oh, I chose a hospital birth. Oh, you chose a home birth. Okay, we should fight about it. Oh, I formula feed. Oh, I breastfeed. We should fight about it. Oh, you're judging me because I had a home birth. You're judging me because I had a hospital birth. None of that. We are all moms. And if that works for you to formula feed, amen. I'm for you. I didn't want to, but I actually, in Ethan's case, I had to for a period of time. But if that's just what you want, I support that. But we should all be supporting each other. Mm-hmm. And I think mentioning that I had a somewhat negative experience, not dangerous, just negative. Mm-hmm. I thought it would be peaceful and beautiful and protected, like the home birth I had in LA. And it was not. And that doesn't mean that if I had another one here in Texas, it would be the same. It just means that everybody has a unique experience.
Yeah. I tell people all the time in hypnobirthing classes, at the very beginning in class 1, because I have people who do all things, home birth, birthing center, and hospital birth that take classes in the same class series with me. And so I say, I want you to know, first of all, I do not think everyone should give birth out of hospital. And I don't think everyone should give birth in hospital. I think you should give birth where you feel safest to give birth. And I do not think all OBs are bad. And I do not think all midwives are good because that's really important. Not all, even at a home birth, there are going to be things that you have to advocate for. And you're never going to agree with your provider 100% all the time, even if you love them the max. Even the one that in California, I'm sure there was something that y'all maybe disagreed on, but it didn't matter because she valued your opinion and you were the one who got to make the final decision.
Yeah.
So that's what makes a good midwife, is that even if you guys don't agree on everything, they're still respecting and honoring your wishes.
Exactly. And, I sometimes I'll circle back and I'll be like, man, did I just jumped into that out of laziness? Or it felt, there was a very Ina May vibe. Ina May?
Yeah, Ina May.
Ina May. There's that, I felt that vibe and I was like, oh, this must be, and I just jumped into it without a whole lot of doing my due diligence there. And I probably should have done more due diligence, but something felt familiar. And because of it, we were still in this is 2021.
Yeah.
We were still in that era. Abby, my midwife from LA, she was originally planning to come to Texas for my birth. And not as the midwife, but as another person there present. Her husband ended up getting COVID and going through a whole hospital experience of his own. That's their story to tell, but she wasn't able, she had to take care of her family and she had to manage things there. But initially that was the plan, is because we had developed such a great bond. So I think in choosing, I thought, well,
Abby will be there. Peggy will be there.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it's a coulda, woulda, shoulda always at the end. Like, hindsight.
Right. Well, I just think that's really beautiful. And your all three stories are so different for different reasons. And you had two HVACs, home birth after cesareans, which not everyone has the, courage or, it doesn't really take bravery, but people think that it does to do. But really, it's just like confidence and knowingness that you're going to be okay and that you surrounded yourself with a team that helped you feel safe and you felt really in good hands. And if it didn't go well, then okay, fine, we deal with that. And, we go to the hospital if we have to, but not as our first choice. And I think that your story is so powerful for so many people to hear. And I'm really appreciative that you came on and told it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I think like the one thing I'd say is like, it's kind of like a pet peeve of mine. And I don't think that this is what you're getting at, but is that like, I've had people say in a very condescending way, like, oh, you're so brave to do a home birth.
Oh,
and
because
the one thing I would
died.
say, right.
That's really what they mean when they say that.
Exactly. And it's not actually that. It's not, I could flip it and be like, whoa, you're really brave to go to a hospital. Cause there's a lot of interventions that could end up in some really scary stuff.
You lucked out and nothing happened. Right.
Yeah. The bravery comes from trusting yourself and from not going with the norm and following
the grain.
Group think. Yeah. The bravery comes in going against the grain because you know it's right and you know what you believe in. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I think is so beautiful about every birth story, really. They're all cool.
And you learned that because of your first one. Your first one allowed you to not have Dr. Stu, who is epic, because just for you, it wasn't right, even though he's amazing. Your courage and bravery and intuition really is what all of that was. You spoke up for yourself. You had that ability now because you were like, oh gosh, I didn't really speak up for myself in this situation. And now that's like a non-negotiable that I am going to say, hey, love you, doula, but I can't have you there because this is something I don't feel is safe for my family. And so what if people don't like me?
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for coming on and telling your story. I have loved hearing it. I knew bits and pieces of them, but it was really cool getting to hear them all together.
Oh, it was so fun. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to follow, rate, and review the podcast. It helps us reach more families who can benefit from this resource. For more resources, classes, and services, head to empoweredbeginningsatx.com or check out the Birth Baby Academy at birthbabyacademy.com. Until next time, wishing you confidence and calm on your journey through birth and beyond.